Welcome to the Four Piece Podcast. Today I have a guest. We have had Canadian football players on this podcast. We from the CFL. We have had prior NBA players on this show a while ago. We've had movie stars from the show Friday, from The Greatest Showman. We've had great people on this show, and today is no different. Today we have Matthew Hodgson, all the way from Australia. He is, I'm going to say this, he is now you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just pulling up some stats here of this guy. He is 6'11", so he's just a little bit taller than me. I'm 5'8", so he's just a little bit taller. You don't have me that much. And he is an awesome individual. Okay, he has played basketball here in the States. He is a world-class athlete. He has played in Australia, obviously, and now the league in Australia is called the NBL, correct?
Yeah, that's
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the National Basketball League, right?
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Okay, and we have the
Very
National
good.
Basketball Association. Thank you very much. And we have the National Basketball Association, which you played for them. You've played here as well. You played for the Dallas Mavericks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was close to make it, so I was with them for a preseason, so I was one of the last guys cut there. So it was with them. They had Dirk. It was before Luka had Dirk, and yes, unfortunately, didn't make the team. So the closest I got was that preseason, but close. And
Roger that.
yeah, it was cool, nonetheless.
Got a hell of a lot closer than I did. I'll tell you that. All right, so that's all right. So you've married an American.
Yes, I'm
Is
actually
that
in the
correct?
process of
Okay.
getting my green card as well. So like I'm very much looking forward to moving back over again as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And your wife is from Alaska, correct?
Yes, legitimately opposite ends of the world. Yes, so she's
Yes.
from Alaska, I'm from Australia. They met in Utah, so must have meant to be.
That was definitely meant to be. I mean, that the powers that be made sure that your paths were going to cross. What were you doing in Utah?
I was playing basketball, so I started basketball very late. So I started at 14, and then by 17, I got a scholarship down Australian Institute of Sport, which is sort of like our mecca for um, like all athletes. And then I went across to Southern Utah actually. So I went with them like very early on the recruiting piece. So I sort of was just starting to break out and had some like mid majors. And that was the one that I liked the most. So that's why I went to Southern Utah. And it killed my AIS coach because I'd signed with them before I went there. And he was like, man, you should have just waited, about 3 months. He's like, you would have gone to sort of a high major over here. So don't regret it because I actually didn't like my time in Utah at all. I quite detested it. But I got to meet my wife, and that's probably the best thing that probably came out of my basketball career.
It was awesome. And you said you got started late. You started basketball at 14 years old. And you went from starting and even nowadays when they talk about any athlete, any sport, it doesn't matter. You have to start super early in order to move up the ranks. And you totally defied that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have to ask this question, and I think everybody else is like, well, what does he do? I mean, you are 6'11", so I'm sure you didn't have a growth spurt at 14. I'm sure that you were still probably tall. Probably not 6'11", but you were tall at that time. I know that my audience is asking, what were you doing in your younger ages? I mean, were you interested in sports or what?
No, I was an academic. I was actually I was tall. Yes, I was always the tallest person in my class, and I didn't get to start. I got about what I call like a circus sideshow tall about when I was 15, right? So when I was 15, I was 6'7", so that was tall. So and I was already playing basketball at that stage. But no, I was I was a tall, chubby kid. So I actually didn't really have any aspirations of being a professional athlete. I never thought it was possible. There's three of us in the household, myself and my two sisters. I'm the middle, and they were comparatively much better athletes than me. So I was sort of, I would say the laughing stock of my family, but I was maybe they laughed behind closed doors at me at my athleticism. So I
Yeah.
yeah, I played soccer when I was 11. Like I didn't play organized sport until I was 11. And I was soccer. I played Aussie rules for a couple of years, which is our brand of
Okay.
football. Very hard to explain. And it's always
Very
comical
fun to
showing.
watch, though.
Yeah, it's always
Very
comical
fun to
showing
watch. Yeah. Mhm.
showing Americans it because they're like,
Mhm.
what the hell is this? So
Yeah.
so I did that, and then yes, playing basketball wasn't even my choice, to be honest with you, Trunnis. Like it was, I didn't think anything of it. All I wanted to do was go to university or college, as you guys call it.
Mhm.
And I had a family friend who was like had a splash of tea in the NBL, like was there for like one season, was out, and he was a finance broker. Anyways, family friend. It was at Christmas, and said to my mum, or I said to me, like, what do you want to do? I said, all I want to do is go to uni, right? I'm smart, I'll be fine. And he said to my mum, well, and my mum played basketball. I didn't even know this. And I didn't get my height from her because she's about 5'6", right? So she's a point guard. And I look like my dad, thankfully. He's 6'4". So it's not like mum cheated on dad or anything like that to get me. And then, so he said to my mum, family friend said to my mum, well, if Matthew plays basketball and gets quite good at it, he could get his university paid for over in the US college system. And that
Right.
perked my mum's ears up. And again, I didn't think anything of it. And then 2 weeks later, mum's like, all right, let's go down to the basketball association. We're going to sign you up. So that's how I got started playing basketball. I had no prior interest in it whatsoever. But
Wow.
I took to it. Like I actually didn't enjoy it much to start with. But I was sort of getting some little opportunities here because it just so happened also, I must have hit puberty and like was going through that because obviously I got tall, I got lean. And then I started being able to like run fast and jump high, like my athleticism like really, really kicked in. And so I was able to dunk and block shots and grab a bunch of rebounds. I had no skill, but I was just an athlete out there. So I got some opportunities, and I didn't actually decide to become a pro until about 6 months later. And my auntie, who lives in New Zealand, sent a Christmas present, which was a DVD of Larry Bird. So I
Mhm.
saw Larry Bird. I wasn't actually inspired by how he played, although I recognized he was quite amazing. It was how people talked about him, like, and how in the documentary, they was like, my goodness, how much respect he had, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want. So that's what got me into actually wanting to become a professional. So then that just formed a maniacal work ethic, and I got a lot better in the space of like 3 years, like a lot better.
Absolutely. And so now you've gone, so you started late, you become a basketball player, you went and hit the pinnacle. You were, I mean, not many people can take a sport and use that as a way of life, a way of living. And you got to do that. It allowed you, the sport allowed you to come over here to the United States. You got an education. Um, you did very well. You played, again, you played for, how many basketball teams did you play for in the NBL?
Oh gosh, four, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
four
last
there.
team was the Bullets, right?
No, last team's the Wildcats over in Perth.
Wildcats. Okay.
So I played in
Okay.
Perth, and then I played in the off seasons over in Europe as well. Played in Asia for a stint there. Obviously, I played for the well, not obviously, I played for the Australian national team. So I actually got a crazy story about that too. Trying to like it all sounds good, like it was sort of like a linear progression, but it was actually yeah, it wasn't that at all. So when I went down to the AAS, I'd just gotten better, right? And I was going against we lived with like all the best basketball players in that country, and within my class that were there were 3 NBA players and 4 Olympians that were in there, and I was there as well. There's a couple of us that were play for the national team, and I was the closest that didn't make it to making the NBA. So we had that, and I started off like I started basketball super late, so I felt like I was really behind. I worked really hard. I actually made it to about 9 months later, made it into the Australian team for the Junior World Championships. So I went to do that, went off to Southern Utah. I actually had a good freshman year, and I was tracking really well. And then the rest of my college career was just this meteoric crash. So I got in my own way mentally. I got really, really, because I didn't have a lot of confidence, I started late, and I was still learning the game, really. Like I was very talented. I was good because I worked at it, but I still really didn't believe in what I was then. And I was judging myself compared to this image that others had painted for me. See, when I played
Hmm.
basketball, a lot of it was very driven by others until a bit later on. So I struggled in the games. Like I couldn't access my ability, and I really struggled. And I started actually playing less and less. And by my senior year, I transferred to St. Mary's. in California, and got to play in the NCAA tournament, all that fun stuff. But I was like seatbelted to the bench by my senior year. So at the end of my senior, and not only that, I had this like debilitating knee injury. I'd torn my meniscus to shreds. Cartilage damage was ridiculous in my right knee. And for an athlete, that's brutal. And basketball players, that's usually like a death sentence. So
Right.
I came down to college and I had basically no prospects, right? Like no one wanted to pick me up as a pro. I had like an agent, a really small time agent, and Aussie guy, and I limped my way back to Australia, and I was like, I got to get surgery. So went to have surgery, showed the surgeon my MRI results on my knee, and he laughed. He's like, okay, he's like, I'll operate on it, sure, but I don't think there's much we can really do here. And I was like, okay, sure, and did the surgery. First thing when I woke up, right? As soon as I wake up from the surgery, he says to me, well, I hope you like coaching because your playing day's over. And so I just started crying, right? Like I couldn't believe like how I'd gone from like this big rise to this cataclysmic fall.
Right.
And I remember just being like, some crying, parents taking me back to on the car because I can't drive, obviously. And I'm just like looking out the window and looking into the sky. And then I guess I just reached a snap point. I was like, look, man, like I know that all this stuff's happened to me, but I'm like, I just feel like I'm too good. I'm too good to not make a crack at this, to really do the things that I want to do. And I'm sick of like, I had 3 years basically of just everything going to shit, excuse my language. So
That's okay.
I was just like, no, I can't do it. And I knew that the answer wasn't like, I was a crazy worker, right? Like always had a really good work ethic, but I was I must have been sporadic. I was like, I know that I'm going to have to work hard. Yes. But I need to be a world-class athlete in my mind first, and to approach everything like a world-class athlete before I'm going to see any external changes. So I set about doing that. And then 2 years later, that was when I became the starting center for the Australian. I become a professional for one. I became the starting center for the Australian national team. And then that was when I was with the Dallas Mavericks as well. So I did all that, and then I just sort of rode it from there. So it was I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about, and that sort of I learned a lot about coaching and the mind and all of that stuff through my whole career, basically, because once I got that taste, I really wanted to see how much further I could go. So I played, all over the world and that sort of stuff, got very, very close to the goals that I really wanted. And I guess the surgeon didn't completely know wasn't completely wrong, because really, like, the injury stuff, I did a very good job of looking after my body, being an athlete and stuff like that. But if you MRI this right knee right now, it looks like it belongs to like a 95-year-old man, right? And it looked like that when I was 25. So I did very well to like do what I did in the period of time, but eventually it caught up to me, and I sort of got cut, like it cut me down in my prime. I just couldn't stop getting hurt, which was a shame, because I was like, I'd been very, very good, and I was really starting to like get to the cusp of what I thought was possible for me. And yeah, unfortunately, my body had other aspirations.
The thing that I love about what you're talking about right now is the fact that you a lot of people accept their pain. They accept their diagnosis from someone else, and they live with it. They're like, this is it, because some expert said that this is what it is. But you really did mind over matter. You did mind over body, and you finished the career on your terms, and that is a great thing. What are you doing now? I know. Wait, first of all, before I want to go ahead and say this, I want to congratulate you on a great thing that happened just a couple of weeks to you, and you can go ahead and tell everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much, Trunnis. Yes, I had the birth of my son. So our family's complete now. I've got a 4.5-year-old daughter, and we actually had we have another son. I haven't told this one, Trunnis, and I'm fine talking about. We had another son. We had a stillbirth last year in May. So we had our son. So Winter is our daughter. Then we had a stillbirth, Pierce, our son. And then we just had our third child, our second, that's actually here with us. And that's Royce. So we're over the moon. So he's born on the 1st of July. He was 6 weeks early, which is, I remember you and I were going to actually have this conversation like at the start of this month. And I was like, oh, Trunnis, I might have to postpone. My son's being born 6 weeks early. So, but it's been awesome. He's been great. He was only in the hospital for a week, developing fantastically, putting on weight like crazy. So he might be a little chunky kid, just like I was, which is great. So he's been great. It's been so good. And then my mum-in-law's in town at the moment too. So it's just been really, really good to be around family for an extended period of time.
Very good. You know, I was gonna have a joke. I know that your wife is an athlete as well, and she's what? How tall is she, if you don't mind me asking?
No, she's 6 foot, and she's comparatively a
Yeah.
better athlete than I was. So she was a professional level volleyball player and a collegiate level 100-meter sprinter. So
Wow.
yes, our kids have got a chance. We'll put it that way.
They got a huge chance, and so you're probably gonna have a. You're probably your one of your son or your son is gonna end up being probably what 9 foot six, something like that. You know, I mean,
Close, yes, yeah, around about. I think that's what they said. The doctor said.
yeah. There you go. So there you go. But hey, and another thing I want to say before we see what you're doing now. So yeah, your birthday's coming up. You will be the big 3-5. How do you feel about that?
Well, now again, thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
Made it very much appreciated. Now that I'm not playing basketball, I haven't been playing for the last 3 years. It's come up to 4 years actually. I don't care about my age anymore. I used to really, it used to really matter when I was playing because you, every year is getting closer to the end of your career, and it changes the perception of you. You know, so when you're in your mid 20s and things, it's all great. And then even though you're playing well, like as you start to get to 29, 30, 31, it's just the contract periods tend to try and get shorter.
Yeah.
It starts getting used as evidence against you because you're always like as an athlete, no matter how good you are, unless you're like a made man, but even then, no matter how good you are, you're always getting prepared for getting kicked out the door. You know, so now that I'm not playing, it's great. I couldn't care less about my age because it's like it can't be used as evidence against me to not get paid anymore.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, those declining contracts. I guess what happens in the NBL happens in the NHL, happens in every other sport out there when they just give you these. Well, you only got like 6 days left, so here you go. Yeah, that is
Yes, it's it's
it's
just the
horrible how
nature
they
of the
do that.
beast. You just
It is.
yeah,
It is.
you really see what a
We
commodity you are. You know, as yeah.
So you've learned a lot from the sport. You obviously you're doing what kind of work are you doing now? You're doing finance work? What is that?
No, no, no. So I did brokering for like a little bit. I was in the void for a little bit after, because like I said, my career ended earlier than I expected, and like
Hmm.
the body caught up with me. So I actually I did a lot in like of education while I was still playing. So obviously did my undergrad when I was at college. I actually studied my postgrad in psychology when I was still playing. And then because I changed my mind, or I got so much out of myself, I was able to have this breakthrough. I really went into, okay, how can I like really push the edge to see what I can really do in terms of getting it basically at the being able to access all the ability we have in, because I feel like a lot of us have like a ton of ability but just unable to access it or unable to focus it in the right direction. So I did like, and thankfully because I was playing, the world class level, I got access to world class like sports. I worked with sports psychs, I worked with clinical psychs,
Hmm.
psychotherapists, team builders, hypnotherapists, culture specialist. I even like enlisted an energetic healer, like in the back end of my career. So I was always trying to
Wow.
figure basically the no, I can't even call it the confines, but the possibilities of human performance and individual performance. So and team as well, obviously as well. And then also I was really fortunate in that not only was I very good myself, but I was around like world class athletes. So the amount of like Olympians, world champions, top like multimillionaire professional athletes that I was around in different sports was I'd lost count. And like even like my assistant coach for the Boomers was Luke Longley. So Luke obviously played with Michael Jordan and won the three
Hmm.
championships and the second three-peat. So I would pester Luke I went on a lot of Boomers trips and I just pestered him. What was MJ like? What was Pippen like? Like, how did this team function? What was this? What was this? How did you guys handle being rock stars, basically? You're like one of the
Right.
like pop
Oh
ups.
yeah.
So I learned so much about like the ins of how these people thought. And even with Delhi, I was Matthew Dellavedova played 10 years in the NBA, but he was also, and I lived with him. So I lived in the AS, I lived with him over at St. Mary's. I'm still talk to him now. And he played with LeBron, and he was part of that championship team that came back from 3-1 down to win it all. So that was he's an NBA
Right.
champion for that. Andrew Bogut was a guy that just worked me out when I was trying to make a failed comeback because my body didn't let me. It's another story for another time. But he played with Steph and won a championship with the Warriors and was so I've just like had been able to just pick the brains of the people that have been in it. So there's so much that I was able to get from my own like individual education that I invest in and working with these professionals, and then all of the access and Olympians and like rowing and volleyball and Aussie rules football and NFL, all this sort of, obviously not Olympians, but NFL players and things. So just very fortunate. And I knew that I wanted to pursue the idea of like performance and the ability to be able to get the best out of yourself. So even though I was floating in the void and after my career got cut short and I was doing the things here and there, I decided not to get my master's in organizational psychology. So I got accepted, but I declined it. I was like, who am I really like after this, Because I'd been so used to being the achiever. Now what am I? So I realized I was a coach. So it initially actually started with I was coaching junior athletes, and that was just something I did on the side. I did it for free because
Okay.
I was like, I'd gotten so much to give it back, and I was trying to figure out my professional lane anyway. So I was doing, and it wasn't like coaching as in, I actually don't like getting on the court or doing like, basketball skills coaching and things like I don't like that. So all the coaching I did with these kids was like, we'd meet and have with their parents, might have a coffee, or I'd do it over the phone or a Zoom. And it's just changing their approach to the game, how they perceive pressure, how they approach their own development. So it's not just like some stuff where it's like, you got to think really positive and you got to,
Right.
you got to say really nice things to yourself and some mental visualization, like all the shit that you get out of like a sports psychology textbook. Because after going through it myself and talking with like these other elite athletes, elite performers, that's not what they did to be really good. So
Right.
it's a much more targeted approach to them, and it's really based around self-understanding, and there's a lot to it. So it's helping these kids, and they're getting these great results. And funnily enough, so I do that as well. I coach like kids, junior athletes, or just very good athletes. They started with junior athletes, and then funnily enough, the parents of these athletes would end up being either entrepreneurs or they'd be high level execs or they'd be in a high because how I got access to them was through my strength and conditioning coach. Now I had the best strength
Right.
and conditioning coach in Australia. He worked with Charles Pollock. He's world class, genuinely, and he's very expensive to work with. So he has like a lot of junior athletes who are really trying to become. Aussie rules is a big one over here, but a multitude of sports.
Yeah. Hmm.
So he has access to them. So then he would sort of push them to me and said, look, this kid's very good. He's just not quite like getting to the level he can. So we'd work it. And so these kids had parents who were, high achievers themselves. And they'd see the results that the kids are getting. And they'd ask me, like, how are you doing this? And so I'd talk with them about it. And they're like, oh, shit. Like a lot of this like applies to me, like in my role and what I'm doing. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, let's do that. So then it's like I ended up coming into another market as well that like was completely unintentional, but it ended up working out really well, which is just it's like high performing like execs or founders, entrepreneurs as well, who are just looking to get more out of themselves and to do it in a way without killing themselves. That's what I found with a lot of athletes, and it was my story as well. You always coach best out of you're basically coaching yourself, right? Your clientele
Right.
that you end up
Right.
getting are people that are basically just like you. And so my massive frustration was that I was pouring in so much effort and I wasn't seeing shit out of it. And I was there's got to be a better way. And that's what changed. So I don't like to say working smarter, but it's just a much more, it's the attention, it's high drive. Like to me, to be really, really good, and you would understand this, you need like high drive and high attention to detail. And if you have two of those things, you're most likely going to be really fucking good at what you do. So
Absolutely.
so that's where I ended up going into it. It's been awesome. I loved it. It's like it's like when I actually think that I enjoy this more than playing. So,
I was gonna say, Matt, when you talked about basketball, you were very into it. Don't get me wrong. When I ask you the question, what you're doing now, your whole body changed. Your whole, not your body. I can only see your face. It lit up. You were very excited about that. It's obviously your passion. Um, and that's awesome. That is really good stuff. Um, I'm going to ask you one more question, and it is about sports. It is about basketball. All right. And I'm going to put you on the spot. My son and I were talking about who is the best basketball player out there.
it's Jordan, and
I
it's not even close.
Thank you. That's all I needed to say. And Zachary, you heard it right there. It's Jordan, and it's not even close. We argued about that for so long. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's not
Hmm.
even close. And I've been able to access people that have been close to both. Like I said, Luke Longley played with Jordan, and Delly played with LeBron. I think LeBron's great. Don't get me wrong, but Jordan might be the best athlete of all time, let alone
Oh
basketball
yeah.
player. He just had the combination of everything that he had and how he was able to apply it and what he was able to do in a relatively short. Like if you take away the two Wizards years, he did all of that in 13 years in the NBA. And once he figured it out, he basically had a formula that worked. Never lost in the final. It's just, and if you when you watch him play, you're like, my God, like it is. Don't get me wrong, LeBron is amazing, and it's hard, and it's. I think when he's fully retired, I think people then will like, go back to his prime because right now a lot of people are obviously just looking at him as a 42-year-old man, and what he's doing now is quite amazing. But
It
once
is.
they retire, that's that you start to go back and look at it, and he was truly, yeah, one of the best. To me, LeBron's third or fourth best player. Like to me, it's Jordan. It's Jordan, then it's Kareem, and then I think
Mhm.
LeBron's right there after that. And even then, I
Yeah.
would like there's a bit of trepidation around that as well. But
Because I mean, Kobe.
yeah,
Kobe.
that's the yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Kobe five
Yeah.
chips, only one MVP. That's the thing that hurt Kobe, I think.
Yeah.
Now there was a period of years because LeBron to me, there was a period there, right? It was the same with Jordan. There was basically a period there where you could give LeBron the MVP every single year. Every single
Right.
year you could give it to LeBron, and he probably deserved it. For the sake of entertainment, they sort of have to change it around. Same with Jordan. Like during that '90s run, basically the entire '90s and even in the back end of the '80s was could have just been Jordan, outside the 2 years that he didn't play. But Kobe was sort of like his time as the out and out best player in the league was kind of short because LeBron
Yeah.
started to come in at that time. He only got one MVP. I think he should have had another one as well. Um, and then it's just to me, it's the inefficiency of Kobe that was like the hard part with him. He was a, under 50% career shooter. He was a 32% 3-point shooter. And now I'm not big on, like, I'm not saying stats is everything by any stretch, but it's like, that's why I like a Jordan or a LeBron more because they're just that much more efficient. They get it done so much more efficiently. They don't have to become volume shooters to be volume scorers. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate that because I think that makes you a better teammate. It means you have a better effect on the overall team. I think Kobe started to figure that out late. And once he did, fantastic. But he had to sort of like, once to me, he became like the Mamba was when he sort of like separated from trying to be like Jordan. And then once he
Yeah.
became more like focusing on being Kobe, great. But
He was.
it hurts me because I like watching Kobe more than LeBron, but I still would put LeBron over
Over
Kobe at
Kobe.
this stage.
One thing I will have to say, changing the subject again, is the fact that you are a great family man. You got to live your dream, but you did it in a way where there are a lot of athletes, a lot of people that get to your level in sports, and when they leave that level, they have a really bad time adjusting.
Yes.
Clearly, no, they really do, and clearly, you know exactly what your future looks like. You have a great family. I know that we've talked a few times, but you are an outstanding. And I could say this. It's funny. I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. I'm saying this because I'm old enough to be your dad. You are an outstanding young man, and so hopefully I have you on the program again, talking about what you do with the mind, because a lot of my entrepreneur people would like to listen about that. Listen about that. I am going to say we are recording this today. It is the 30th in the United States. It's the 31st in Australia. Your birthday's coming up soon. Enjoy it with your. I'm going to tell you one thing I'm going to tell you as a father to a father. These times right now when they're young, enjoy every minute, because then when they're like 18 and above, they forget your fucking birthday. I'm going to tell you that right now. They don't know anything about you. It's like, who cares? All right. So just
Yeah.
remember, enjoy this time where they have to know your birthday. Okay. So there you go.
That's actually very
All
sage
right.
advice. I do appreciate that, and I actually appreciate you calling me a young man too. That means a lot. So thank you, Trunnis.
There you go. There you go. Well, hey, we'll be right back right after this. Matthew, thank you so much for being here, and enjoy Queensland, and enjoy that cup of coffee that I saw you drinking. All right.
Yes, I have been, and thanks so much for having me on, Trunnis. It really means a lot.
We'll be right back right after this.
Recruitment has changed, the way you win business should too. Steve Tolan helps recruitment founders, leaders, and consultants across the world build authority, generate quality conversations, and create a more consistent pipeline through modern business development, social selling, and high-performance sales strategies. Through his Change the Game CTG program, Steve delivers practical training, mentorship, and live coaching that combines proven recruitment fundamentals with today's tools, technology, and buyer behavior. No theory, no generic sales scripts, just practical frameworks that help recruiters build trust, win more work, and stay ahead of a rapidly changing market. Change the game, build authority, win better business.
Welcome back to this final segment of the 4Ps podcast. We did it a little different today. There was no opening for today. There was just like, hey, we went right into the interview. We went to that interview because it was a little long today, so we wanted to make sure that you got all of it and you don't need me rambling in the very beginning talking about whatever I was talking about. But Matthew, what I love about Matthew is a lot of athletes, they struggle when they leave their sport. Um, the competition level changes and their purpose changes. You have to remember that a lot of people, now, granted, in Matthew's situation, he started later on in life. And I don't want to say later in life, he's like 14, but he did start the his basketball journey a little bit later. I mean, relatively speaking, because a lot of people, they start their sports career like when they're like 3 or 4 years old. I know my sons, when they started playing hockey, they were one of them was 3, one of them was 4 years old, and so they started playing at an early age. And so when you start doing that, and then if you're really, really good and you get to the levels that Matthew got to, you're in your 30s before you are now done. So you're looking at all of your life, just about, where you are playing a sport. And then when you get out of that sport, um, who knows what goes on, because it's a massive transition that happens in the military too. You think about it, a lot of people join the military at 18 years old. They join the military if they're career military, even if they're not. But if they're career military, you realize they stay from 8 to at least 38 if they're career military. And so that means all of their life, with the exception of the first 17 years of your life, you have been totally devoted to one craft, one profession, one thing, one way of life. And then boom, it changes. What I love about Matthew is he was able to know that that transition was coming. And even when you hear in his interview, he took the steps to make sure that that transition was a lot smoother than what it may not have been in this case. And so I really do, I really do have to hand it to Matt. Congratulations again to his new baby and all of those good things that are going on in his life. Next week, we are going to go back to Freedom Fest for one more time for a little while. Stephen Lance will be on our program. Just a great individual. Another message, about something that I'll have him tell you about it, but it has to deal with how people are treated in a foreign country. And we'll talk about it next week when we have our podcast next week. Until then, you have a great week. And I love having you guys. I love having you guys listen to the podcast. You guys are a part of the 4Ps podcast and part of the 4Ps family. If you can, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do. Put this in your favorites. This podcast is here for you, and we love it. And also, Steve Tolan, thank you so much for being such a great sponsor of this podcast. We will talk to you next week. Until then, bye-bye.